was 17 the year everything at Crestwood High shifted, the year when secrets stopped hiding and started bleeding through the cracks. Back then, our principal, Dr. Marlene Booker, was the kind of woman who made hallways go silent just by walking through them. Polished, strict, always in control. Nothing, and I mean nothing, ever rattled her, which is why the day she vanished felt unreal. It started like any other Tuesday. Fall, rain tapping on the cafeteria windows, the smell of old textbooks everywhere, seniors rehearsing for college interviews in the corner. I was running late to first period, clutching my sociology project, when our vice principal, Mr. Harrow, walked into the hallway with a face ashen like chalk. Everyone to homeroom, he kept repeating. Now, please, no explanation, no context, just tension, cold and immediate. My best friend, Elena Briggs, slid up beside me, whispering, something's wrong. Did you see his face? I had. And it wasn't the face of a man dealing with a fire drill or a staff meeting. This was fear, heavy fear. When we got to homeroom, teachers looked confused too. Whispers traveled faster than attendance sheets. Dr. Booker didn't show up this morning. No call, no message. Her office is locked from the outside. They found her bag in the lobby. Nobody knew anything concrete, but everyone felt it. By third period, the rumors spiraled. Some said she was sick. Some said she resigned overnight. One guy swore he heard the cops were called. But here's the thing, Crestwood was predictable. Boring even. Principals didn't just not show up. Not without sending 12 emails and a memo. And Dr. Booker, she wasn't the disappearing type. Still, even with the tension buzzing through the halls, it wasn't until I walked past the back doors near the gym that I felt something deep in my chest shift. I saw her car, her silver Toyota Camry, the one she drove every single day, tucked behind the gym, like it had been hidden on purpose. No staff cars ever parked there. Students weren't allowed. Nobody used that dead-end strip except delivery trucks. But there it was, rain beating on the windshield, driver's door slightly cracked open, a handbag strap visible on the front seat. It was so out of place. It made my breath hitch. Charlotte, Elena said behind me, her voice thin. Why would it be back here? I stepped closer, the gravel soft under my shoes, my heart suddenly pounding the way it does before something bad happens. Something your body senses before your mind does. It's hers, I whispered. It has to be. We approached slowly, both of us peeking inside like we expected someone to jump out. No one did. The inside was clean, organized, untouched, which made it worse, because Dr. Booker wasn't the kind of woman who'd leave her car like this. Not unlocked, not abandoned, not hidden. Maybe she walked to the gym? Elena offered, but even she didn't believe it. Her voice shook. I reached out and touched the driver's door. Cold, wet, unmoved for hours. Something was wrong. Very wrong. But the real violation, the moment everything inside me tilted, came when I noticed the back floor mat. A little corner of it lifted. Something stuffed beneath it. A folded paper. White. Damp around the edges. I froze. Do you see that? I whispered. Elena nodded, eyes wide. Are you gonna? I didn't want to touch it. Every instinct said don't. But curiosity dug deeper than fear. Slowly, I slid the paper out just enough to see the corner of a printed letterhead. Crestwood High School District. A school document. Hidden under her mat. Another pulse of dread. Why hide a document in your car? Why? This morning of all mornings. Before I could pull it fully out, a voice cut through the rain. Girls, step away from that car. We spun around. Mr. Harrow stood at the corner, umbrella half open, eyes wide, not angry, but scared. Like he'd caught us touching something radioactive. What are you doing back here? He snapped, rushing toward us. This area is off limits. We saw Dr. Booker's car, I stammered. It's just sitting here. Unlocked. He swallowed hard. Too hard. Go inside. Now. Both of you. But now. His tone wasn't harsh, it was pleading. We backed away, confused and shaken, as he moved toward the car like he was approaching a crime scene. He didn't even try to hide it. He immediately checked the back seat, then the trunk, then the ground around the tires. He looked terrified, and that told me more than any rumor floating through the hallways. Whatever happened to our principal? It wasn't simple. It wasn't harmless, and it definitely wasn't something the school wanted students near. As Elena and I walked back inside, the rain picking up behind us, I couldn't stop thinking about the paper under the floor mat. What was so important Dr. Booker hid it? And why was our vice principal acting like the whole world was about to collapse? That was the moment the violation truly began. Not just her disappearance, but a truth trying desperately to stay buried, because sometimes the scariest secrets aren't the ones people tell, they're the ones they hide so well. You only find them when everything else has already gone wrong. The rest of the day moved strangely, like time forgot how to function. Classes went on, teachers pretended nothing was wrong, but every hallway conversation circled back to the same question. Where is Dr. Booker? By lunchtime, the entire school smelled like fear. Invisible but suffocating. Students whispered in clusters. Staff huddled behind half-closed doors. I kept replaying the image of her car behind the gym, unlocked, abandoned. And that folded piece of paper I never got to read. Elena sat across from me in the cafeteria, picking at her sandwich like it tasted wrong. I can't shake it, she said finally. Her car being there like that. She shuddered. Something happened to her, Char. Something bad. I wanted to disagree. I wanted to say we were overthinking, but the truth sat in my stomach like a rock. Mr. Harrow was scared, I said quietly. He wasn't just mad we were there. He was panicked. Did you tell anyone what you saw in the car? She asked. I shook my head. No, I didn't even tell him about the paper. Her eyebrows lifted. Good. Something's off. Don't tell anyone yet. I nodded, but my mind wouldn't settle. Don't tell anyone yet felt like holding a heavy secret I wasn't ready to carry. The helplessness crept in slowly like a slow leak in a dam. A little pressure pressure at first, then more. By my last period. I wasn't listening to anything the teacher said. I kept staring at the rain-streaked windows, wondering if Dr. Booker was somewhere out there, trapped, hurt, or hiding. After school, I lingered longer than usual by my locker. Elena had cheer practice, so I waited for her, but another presence found me first. Charlotte. I turned. It was Mr. Harrow. His expression held a strange mix, stern, unsettled, but also pleading. Can I talk to you for a moment? He asked. My pulse ticked up. Sure. He led me into the empty main office. The air inside felt cold, like the AC had been left running in a room no one wanted to enter. The secretary's desk was empty, and the door to Dr. Booker's office, usually propped open, was shut, deadbolt shut. He didn't offer me a seat, and he didn't sit either. He looked tired, like he'd aged 10 years since this morning. I need you to understand something, he said, lowering his voice. There are situations in a school environment that require privacy. Serious matters that staff handle internally. Students don't need to be involved. I folded my arms, defensive. Are you talking about this morning? Yes. A short, strained breath. What you and Elena saw behind the gym. Please keep that to yourself. That's not exactly reassuring, I said. You're acting like she didn't just disappear. He blinked two slow, tired blinks and pressed his hand against his forehead. We don't have all the information yet, he said. We're working on it. We? I repeated. Who's we? He paused. Too long. The district, he finally said. And authorities. It was the first time someone at school admitted police were involved. What happened to her? I asked, my voice smaller than I meant. His jaw tightened. That's not something I can discuss with a student. Then why pull me in here at all? Because students talk. His voice cracked a little. Rumors spread. And the last thing we need is something getting out of hand. My frustration flared. So you're asking me to pretend everything's normal? No, he said. I'm asking you to be careful. Careful? About what? Or who? Before I could ask, he ended the conversation with a soft but firm, you should go home now, Charlotte. I walked out of the office with my heart pounding against my ribs. It felt like he'd told me something without actually telling me anything. When I found Elena after practice, she immediately saw the look on my face. What happened? She asked, grabbing her bag. He talked to me, I whispered. Said we need to be careful. Her eyes widened. Careful of what? I don't know, I said. But something's wrong, Elena. He knows more than he's saying. We walked outside together. The rain had stopped, but the sky still looked bruised. Students rushed past us to their cars, their parents' cars. The buses, everyone trying to get home fast and forget the tension of the day. But not me. Not now. Not with that car still sitting behind the gym. And scene.as we reached the corner of the building. Elena touched my arm. You're thinking about going back there, aren't you? I sighed. I can't stop thinking about that paper. She hesitated, then nodded. Let's go. We slipped around the far side of the gym where no cameras were visible. When we got there, my stomach dropped. The car was gone. Not moved, not relocated. Gone. The ground was wet where tires had been. Fresh tracks led out toward the staff lot. I knew it, Elena whispered. They're hiding something. But as I stared at the empty space, a deeper feeling settled in my chest, heavier than fear, softer than panic, helplessness. Because whatever was happening, we were already too late. I couldn't protect Dr. Booker. I couldn't read the paper. I couldn't stop the silence swallowing this whole school. All I could do was stand there and feel the weight of a mystery, tightening around us, thread by thread, until it became something impossible to ignore. And yet, I knew this was only the first crack. Something bigger was coming, something darker, something we weren't prepared for. The next morning, the school felt different, like someone had turned the volume down on the whole building. No laughter in the hallways, no shouting, no morning announcements reminding us about Spirit Week, just quiet, too quiet. Elena met me at my locker, her hair still damp from rushing in late. She didn't say hi. She simply said, did you sleep? I shook my head. Did you? No. We exchanged a look, not dramatic, not theatrical, just the silent agreement that something inside both of us had shifted. There was no way to pretend yesterday hadn't happened. Between classes, whispers grew like vines, messy, tangled, spreading fast. She resigned. She ran away. She stole money. She had a breakdown. She's sick. She's dead. Every version sounded worse than the last. People avoided Mr. Harrow in the hall like he was radioactive. Teachers kept glancing at the door during class as if expecting Dr. Booker to walk in, healthy and smiling, saying there'd been a misunderstanding, but no one had the courage to ask what actually happened. By third period, doubt had begun unraveling the edges of my mind. I kept replaying everything. The car, the missing paper, the panicked expression on Mr. Harrow's face. Nothing added up, but nothing was random. Either. A tea lunch. The cafeteria buzzed louder than usual, fueled by speculation. Elena leaned over the table, whispering, people think she had an affair with someone at school. I gave her a flat look. That's ridiculous. I know, she sighed. But people fill silence with garbage. I stabbed my fork into my salad, realizing my hands wouldn't stop shaking. They moved the car, Elena. They didn't even tell anyone she didn't show up to work. That's not normal. Exactly, she whispered. Which is why I've been thinking. I looked up slowly. Thinking what? She hesitated, something she almost never did. What if the car wasn't supposed to be found? She asked. Like, what if she didn't walk away from it willingly? The cafeteria's hum faded beneath the pounding in my ears. You think something happened to her? I said. She swallowed hard. Don't you? I wanted to deny it, but doubt had been building in me since yesterday like a slow ache. Instead of answering, I glanced around the cafeteria, my eyes snagged on something, or rather, someone. Amar, Harrow, standing in the doorway, scanning the tables. Tension carved into every line of his face. His gaze landed on me. My breath froze, but he didn't approach. He turned abruptly and left, disappearing down the hallway. Elena watched my reaction. What was that? He's avoiding me, I said, or watching you. I hated how easily that theory fit. The rest of the day dragged. Every class felt longer than it should have. Every teacher more distracted than usual. Doubt spread like a cold, growing stronger with each unanswered question. By last period, people had stopped pretending everything was fine. You could hear the stress in every creak of a desk. See it in every uneasy glance toward the admin wing. A rumor drifted through the halls. Someone had seen police cars outside the school early that morning. Someone else said detectives were reviewing security footage. Another claimed Dr. Booker's house was being searched. I didn't know which was true, but one detail did stand out. Security footage. If there were cameras behind the gym, someone would have seen the car, seen who moved it, seen who touched it last. But yesterday, when I'd gone around the building with Elena, I hadn't seen any cameras pointing that way. Still, school grounds always have angles you don't notice, and the doubt inside me wasn't letting go anymore. It pushed, whispered, insisted. There has to be something. Someone's missing. After dismissal, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I wandered toward the admin offices again, pretending to look for a lost notebook. The halls were mostly empty now, shadows stretching across the floor as late afternoon light dimmed. I paused outside Dr. Booker's office. The deadbolt was still locked. A strange flicker in my chest made me press my ear to the door. Silence, then footsteps behind me. I jolted and spun around. It wasn't a teacher. It wasn't a student. It was Officer Leland, the school resource officer, someone who usually spent his days handling hall passes and breaking up fights near the vending machines. Except today, he wasn't smiling. He wasn't holding a clipboard. His hand hovered just above the radio on his shoulder. Charlotte, right? He asked quietly. Yeah. He looked at the locked office door, then back at me. Is there a reason you're here? My mouth went dry. She hasn't been here. I thought maybe. I know, he said, interrupting softly. We all know. His tone wasn't harsh. If anything, it carried something I wasn't expecting. Concern, for me. You and your friend found something yesterday, he said, lowering his voice. A staff member mentioned it. My pulse raced. We didn't break anything, no, he said gently. But you might have seen more than you realize. His expression shifted, almost apologetic. I'm not supposed to say much, but I need you to be careful where you go and who you talk to right now. Understand? The second time in 2 days someone told me to be careful. This time from someone trained to notice danger. I nodded slowly. Is Dr. Booker okay? Officer Leland exhaled through his nose. A tiny heavy sound. I wish I knew. A chill rolled down my spine. He tapped the folder under his arm, thick, full of documents. Evidence? Reports? Footage? Go home, he said. Stay close to your parents. And if anything seems strange, a beat, come straight to me. I watched him walk away, the weight of his warning settling like dust in my lungs. When I met Elena outside by the student drop-off, I barely spoke as we walked toward her car. She could feel the tension just by looking at me. Charlie, what happened? I don't know, I whispered. But everyone keeps telling me to be careful. She swallowed hard. Why you? I think they know we saw the car, I said. And maybe they think I saw more. Doubt became something sharper, something colder, something real. It no longer felt like a puzzle we were curious about. It felt like a threat, and for the first time since Dr. Booker vanished, a truth I had been avoiding finally settled in. Whatever happened to her wasn't an accident, and someone at the school knew more than they were willing to say. By Friday morning, the whole school buzzed like a hive kicked open. Teachers whispering in hallways, students inventing wild theories, even substitute teachers acting like they'd walked into a crime show instead of a high school. But nothing compared to what I was carrying inside me, because while everyone else traded rumors, I had seen something real. Principal Vera Langford's abandoned car behind the gym, unlocked, and her phone sitting on the front seat like she had just stepped out for a moment and never returned. I hadn't told anyone, not even Coach Barton, because something about all of it felt off, not just wrong. Dangerous. At 10:17 a.m. As I was helping students transition between classes, the district's assistant superintendent, Catherine Royal, showed up with 2 men in suits who did not look like educators, or substitutes, or even district board members. These were federal level, polished, hard eyes, press suits, government energy. They walked straight into the front office without acknowledging a single staff member. I watched from the hall doorway as Miss Royal pulled the blinds shut behind them. Whatever was going on, it wasn't just a personal emergency. I stepped into my classroom, but my mind wasn't there. My hands were shaking slightly as I passed out worksheets to my juniors. Mr. Carver? A student, Lydia Rawlings, tilted her head. You look pale. You okay? I cleared my throat. Yeah, just tired. It was a lie, and she knew it, but she let it go. As soon as the bell rang for lunch, I walked quickly to the back courtyard, pretending I was headed to the teacher's lounge. Instead, I cut behind the auditorium and slipped out the side door, toward the gym. I needed to see the car again. I needed to confirm I hadn't imagined it. I expected it to still be there. Still unlocked. Still eerie. But when I turned the corner it was gone. The entire stretch of pavement where it had been parked was clean, empty, almost to perfect. As if someone had scrubbed away its existence. What? I breathed out. A chill went down my spine. Someone knew I had seen it. Someone moved fast. Then I spotted something near the dumpster, just a tiny glint catching sunlight. I walked closer and crouched down. It was a lanyard clip, broken, the decal on it unmistakable. Northridge. High staff. It wasn't mine. It wasn't any teacher's style either. We all had customized ones. Colorful ones. Retractable badge reels. Only administration staff used the simple black lanyards with metal clips. My pulse raced. It had to be hers. Before I could think further, I heard footsteps. Fast. Heavy. I spun around. It was Dean Marshall Riggs, the disciplinarian of the school. Stocky. Stern. A man who never smiled unless he was suspending someone. What are you doing back here, Carver? His tone was loaded. I stood slowly. Just getting fresh air. He stepped closer. This isn't a student area, or a staff one. I needed a break. You break in the lounge. Not behind the gym. He stared at me. Not just suspicious calculating. As if he was trying to figure out whether I knew something. His eyes drifted downward. And I realized the lanyard clip was still in my hand. Damn, drop that, he said. His voice changed, low, commanding. I closed my fist tighter. Why? It's trash. Drop it. He took another step, and for the first time in all my years at this school, something hit me. He wasn't just a strict dean. He was scared, nervous, defensive, like whatever was happening with Principal Langford involved him too. What do you know, Marshall? I asked before I could stop myself. His face stiffened, a muscle in his jaw twitched. Leave this alone, Nathan. He rarely used my first name. I'm serious, he continued. Stop asking questions. Focus on your students. This isn't your business. The words carried weight too much. It is my business if the principal is missing. I shot back. He shook his head. You don't understand. Vera, he stopped, looked around, lowered his voice. She was into something bigger than this school. Bigger than any of us. You don't want to get pulled into it. What does that mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he turned sharply and walked back toward the building, leaving me standing there with more questions than I'd started with. When I looked down at the broken lanyard clip again, something clicked. He hadn't asked where I found it, hadn't asked why I was holding it, hadn't asked what I thought it meant. He already knew. No, he feared it. I slipped it into my pocket. Then I made my second mistake of the day. I went to the front office. The blinds that had been shut earlier were still drawn. The door was locked. I tried to peer through a crack in the side, but I could barely see shapes moving inside. Then I heard a voice. I recognized Catherine Rowell. No, her car was moved. We had no choice. Someone saw it, likely staff. My heart dropped. They knew. Another voice. If he saw the phone. That's a problem. They weren't talking about Vera. They were talking about me. A cold wave washed over me. I took a step back, trying not to make noise. One of the suited men said, find out which teacher went near the gym this morning. We can't afford loose ends. Loose ends. I backed up quietly, heart pounding, and slipped toward the exit. I didn't stop walking until I was outside, in the parking lot, breathing hard against the cold afternoon air. Loose ends. What in the world had Vera been involved in? And why was a missing person suddenly a cover-up? As I headed to my car at the end of the day, something on my windshield made me freeze. A note, one line, all caps, black marker. No signature. It read, if you care about her, stop digging. But the moment I touched the paper, I realized something that made my stomach twist. The handwriting. It looked like Vera Langford's. I sat in my car for a long moment, staring at the note on my windshield, the handwriting, the sentence, the message behind it. If you care about her, stop digging. Every part of me wanted to deny the truth, forming in my mind the possibility that Principal Vera Langford wasn't just missing. She was hiding. And worse, she was being controlled, threatened, or trapped by something larger than any of us understood. I looked around the parking lot, teachers walking to their cars, students waiting for, parents, a custodian pushing a trash bin toward the south door. Everything looked normal. But when you're scared, normal becomes suspicious. Every movement, every sound, every shadow. Fear does that. It rewrites reality. And in that moment, reality was twisting fast. I folded the note and placed it inside my jacket. For a second, I considered driving straight home. Pretend none of this was happening. Pretend I hadn't seen her car. Pretend the assistant superintendent and the suited men weren't talking about covering up loose ends. But fear has a way of creating new instincts, survival instincts. And something in my gut whispered, you're not safe here. Not anymore. I turned my key, started the engine, and pulled out of the lot. But before I reached the exit, I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. A black SUV had pulled out to cars behind me, tinted. Windows.no school parking sticker.no bumper. Stickers.no movement inside. I slowed. Slightly. So did they. My heartbeat thudded against my ribs. Was I being paranoid? Or was I being followed? I took a right instead of the usual left turn toward home. The SUV followed. I took another right. Followed. Then I downshifted suddenly into a grocery store parking lot, weaving through rows of parked cars. I parked between a large pickup and a van, shut off my engine, and ducked low. The SUV rolled through the lot slowly, then exited the other side. I stayed crouched in the driver's driver's seat. Breath uneven. That wasn't paranoia. That was surveillance. They knew I had seen the car. They knew I'd seen her phone. They knew I'd lingered behind the gym. And they knew I wasn't dropping it. I waited a full 5 minutes before starting my car again. Even then, I drove home using different streets, checking mirrors constantly. When I finally arrived, the exhaustion hit me like a wave. Fear drains you the way no physical work can. It takes your energy, your clarity, your sense of safety. Inside my house, I locked the door immediately. Then I locked it again. I tossed my bag on the couch, paced the living room, ran a hand through my hair. What was I supposed to do? Report it? To who? The people covering it up? Call the police? Tell them what? That I found my principal's car and now possibly the school district is watching me? It all sounded insane, but the fear wasn't imaginary. It was real, heavy, breathing down my neck. At 7:12 p.m. I received a text from an unknown number. Stop going near the gym. No punctuation. No name. Just that. I dropped the phone on the couch like it burned my hand. Was someone watching my movements on campus? Checking cameras? Following me? My mind raced through every possibility. Then I thought of someone who might know more than she realized. Lydia Rawlings, my observant student who always noticed details adults missed. Earlier, she'd asked why I looked pale. Teenagers see everything. They just pretend not to. I hesitated, but the fear of silence felt heavier than the fear of speaking. I texted her, "Are you at home? Need to ask you something." She responded almost immediately, "Yeah, is everything okay?" I drove over to her house a few blocks away. Her mother Dana Rawlings recognized me as Lydia's English teacher and let me inside. Lydia came down the stairs quickly, concern in her eyes. "Mr. Carver, you look worse than earlier. I need to ask you something important," I said quietly. "And it stays between us." Her expression shifted. She nodded. "Earlier today," I continued, "did you see anyone near the back of the gym? Anyone at all? Staff? Students? Custodians?" She frowned thinking, then her face tightened. "There was someone," she said softly. "A man." "What man?" I don't know his name. I've seen him around the school but he doesn't work there. At least, not as a teacher. What did he look like? Tall, shaved head, dark jacket, walks fast like he's in a hurry all the time. I saw him go behind the gym during third period, and he was on his phone talking about someone, moving the asset. I thought he meant equipment or something. My stomach dropped. Asset. That wasn't a word educators used. That was a word agencies used, authorities used, investigators used. "Did he see you?" I asked. She shook her head. "I don't think so. I just heard him when I was walking to the art building." I exhaled shakily. This wasn't about a school. This wasn't about a missing staff member. This was something else entirely. "Mr. Carver?" Lydia whispered. "Is this about Principal Langford?" I froze. Kids connected dots faster than we gave them credit for. "I think," I said slowly, "that she may be in trouble. And I think someone doesn't want anyone to find out." "Do you think they hurt her?" The question twisted in my chest. "I don't know," I whispered, "but I know they're watching people who ask questions." Lydia swallowed hard. "Are they watching you?" Before I could answer, headlights flashed across the window. Her mom opened the curtains slightly. A black SUV rolled slowly past the house. My breath caught. Same one, same tinted windows, same quiet, ominous presence. Lydia looked at me eyes wide. "Mr. Carver, what did you get involved in?" I didn't answer, because fear had finally taken full shape. I wasn't just worried about my principal anymore. I was worried about myself, and I was worried that whatever had happened to Vera Langford was already beginning to happen to me. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my window felt suspicious, every passing car made me flinch, and every time I closed my eyes, I pictured the black SUV rolling slowly by the Rawlings house like it was making a statement. "We see you. We know where you go. We know who you talk to." The turning point didn't come as some dramatic epiphany. It came as something simpler. Exhaustion. Fear drains you so deeply that eventually, you get tired of being afraid. By morning, the fog in my mind cleared enough to form one solid thought. If they're watching me this closely, it's because I'm close to something. That meant I had leverage, and leverage meant I wasn't powerless. I showered, dressed, grabbed the note from my jacket, and headed to school earlier than usual. I wanted to walk the campus before anyone else arrived, to breathe the air, to remind myself that this was my environment, my territory, my job not theirs, and because something told me that the answers were here, hidden somewhere in plain sight. At 6:40 am, I wandered toward the back of the gym again cautiously this time, heart pounding, but I found nothing. The area was spotless, too spotless, like someone had scrubbed every trace of the car's presence. Then I saw something I hadn't noticed before. A small security camera mounted on the gym's southwest corner angled slightly downward, toward the service road behind it. Had that camera been there yesterday? How had I missed it? I stepped closer, and realized the lens wasn't pointed toward the usual traffic paths. It was pointed exactly where I'd found the abandoned car. My breath quickened. If this camera was functional, it would have footage of whoever moved Principal Langford's car, footage of who had taken her, footage of who had threatened me. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture of the camera's model number, then another, of the small metal lock lockbox beneath it. Access panel for the local recording drive. Hope flickered for the first time since this nightmare started. I could request access.no. I could demand access.as. A teacher. I technically wasn't authorized to handle security systems, but the district couldn't deny me without raising suspicion. I walked straight to the admin building, ready to confront whoever was there. Inside, I found Vice Principal Henry Colton at the front desk. Tall, stiff posture, pristine tie. The kind of man who always walked like someone was evaluating him. He looked surprised to see me this early. "Morning, Owen," he said. "Something wrong?" "Yes," I said bluntly. "I need to review the footage from the gym's rear security camera." His expression stiffened. Not shocked, not confused, threatened. "Why would you need that?" he asked calmly. "I found vandalism behind the gym yesterday," I lied smoothly. "I want to identify the student responsible before it escalates." He studied me, as if weighing how much I knew. "That footage isn't accessible to staff," he said. "Only district security can handle that." "I'm not asking for authorization," I replied. "I'm reporting a behavioral risk." "That camera should have recorded it." His jaw tightened. We stood there silently, staring each other down. Finally, he said, "I'll check with district. They'll review it, including the footage from 2 days ago." I asked casually. He faltered. "Just slightly, but enough. That camera was offline 2 days ago," he said quickly. "Maintenance issue." I knew he was lying, and he knew that I knew. "There's a maintenance log for that, right?" I asked. "I'll need a copy for documentation." His eyes darkened. "You're asking too many questions, Owen." There it was, a warning, a line drawn. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "And you're giving too few answers." Before he could respond, the office door opened and a woman entered. Someone I'd never seen before, mid-40s, dark suit, eyes sharp, moved like she owned the room. She walked directly to Colton and whispered something in his ear. He stiffened immediately. Then, they both glanced at me. The woman approached. "You're Mr. Carver," she said flatly. "I'm Evelyn Pace, District Compliance Officer." That title didn't exist, not in our district, I've been informed. "You're making unauthorized inquiries into restricted areas." "I'm reporting a student safety concern," I corrected. "You're trespassing into matters outside your role," she said, stepping closer. I didn't move. "Principal Langford's disappearance is being handled," she continued. "You're not to involve yourself any further. Do you understand?" I held her stare. "Where is she?" I asked. Her lips curved slightly. "Not a smile. Not your concern." Something inside me snapped. I came here for answers. I walked into this building with fear, but now fear was transforming, becoming anger. "Tell me where she is," I said quietly, intensely. Evelyn leaned in so close I could feel her breath. "Stop digging," she whispered, "or you'll end up exactly where she is." My blood ran cold, but something inside me hardened, because her threat confirmed everything. Principal Langford had been taken. By them, and they were terrified. I'd uncover it. I left the building without another word. The turning point wasn't a revelation. It wasn't bravery. It was clarity. Cold, dangerous clarity. They had crossed a line. Now I would too. Justice doesn't always come dressed in a courtroom verdict. Sometimes, justice begins as a single, reckless decision. The kind you know will either destroy everything, or finally, crack the truth open. Mine started with a phone call. Not to the district, not to the school board, not even to the police. I called someone else. Someone I knew wouldn't be bought, intimidated, or silenced. Detective Marshall Kane, an old friend of my father's. Retired from the sheriff's office but still deeply connected. A man who cared more about truth than politics. He picked up on the first ring. "Kane, it's Owen Carver," I said. "I need help. Serious help." "Where are you?" "Home." "Stay there. I'm coming." 28 minutes later, his old pickup pulled into my driveway. He stepped out, gray beard, worn jacket, steady eyes that looked at me like he could see the fear under my skin. "What did you get yourself into?" he asked. I handed him the note, showed him the camera photos, told him everything. The phone, the SUV, Evelyn Pace, the threats. He listened without interrupting once. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "This isn't school business," he said. "This is federal." My stomach twisted. Federal? As in someone doesn't want Langford found because finding her leads to something bigger. What something? He sighed. "Owen, did she ever mention anything unusual? Money issues? Audits? Complaints she wasn't supposed to receive?" I nodded. I remembered her hinting about unapproved district spending and contracts that didn't make sense. Kane's expression hardened. "That's it," he muttered. "This is a corruption cover-up." "So they took her?" "She found something she shouldn't have," he replied. "And someone high up panicked." My head spun. "Can you help me find her?" "I can do more than that," he said. "I can expose them." He pulled out his phone, made 3 calls short, cryptic, professional. Then he looked at me. "I have former colleagues who owe me favors. Today, we collect them." By noon, Kane and I were parked outside the district administrative center, an unmarked sedan with 2 other officers idling beside us. They weren't in uniform, but they were real, serious, and angry. "Federal corruption is a cancer," Kane said. "And people who who threaten teachers. That's a mistake they'll regret. The officers walked inside. 15 tense minutes passed. Then everything exploded. Evelyn Pace stormed out restrained by one of the officers, vice principal. Colton followed next. Pale, sweating, handcuffed. 2 district security agents were pulled out behind them. It was chaos. Teachers gathered. Staff filmed. Rumors spread like wildfire. But amidst the noise, the most important moment unfolded quietly. A police van pulled up, and from it stepped Principal Vera Langford, alive, shaken, but alive. Her eyes searched the crowd until they locked on mine. She rushed forward and gripped my hands. "You found me," she whispered, trembling. "I knew someone would. I prayed it would be you." I felt tears sting my eyes. "What did they do to you?" "They tried to make me disappear," she said, "because I discovered where district funds were being funneled. I refused to sign off. They panicked." She looked at Kane. "Thank you for saving us." "You can thank Owen," Kane said. He didn't back down. The word us lingered in my mind. "Us?" I asked. Vera hesitated, then pointed to the van. A teenage girl no older than 16 stepped out slowly. "This is my daughter, Harper," she said. "I kept her identity private for safety reasons. When they took me, they took her too." My breath caught. They hadn't just tried to. Silence. Vera Langford. They had abducted a child. Kane swore under his breath. "This will bring the whole district down." Colton and Evelyn were shoved into police cars. Their empire collapsing as easily as it had been built. Justice wasn't loud. It wasn't triumphant. It was the sight of Principal Langford stepping into the sunlight. Again. It was Harper clutching her mother's arm like she'd found the world again. It was knowing fear had lost, because truth finally fought back. Justice didn't roar. It whispered, "You survived. You were right, and they were wrong to underestimate you." It's strange how quiet life feels after surviving something loud. The chaos fades, the sirens disappear, people move on quicker than you expect, but your mind stays in the echo of everything for a long time. In the weeks after the arrests, after Vera Langford and her daughter were safely placed under protective watch, after the district was turned inside out by investigators who finally cared, I found myself waking up each morning with a sense of disbelief. Not fear, not relief, something different, something like aftershocks. The world looked normal. Hallways sounded the same. Students laughed, lockers slammed, bells rang. But beneath that ordinary rhythm, I could feel a subtle shift, like the air itself had become heavier with truth. People whispered when I walked past. Some whispered admiration, some whispered fear, some whispered curiosity, as if trying to rewrite the narrative into something dramatic or reckless or heroic. But I knew better. I wasn't a hero. I was just a man who got tired of being afraid. One afternoon, as I walked past the administrative wing, I paused outside Vera's old office, the door she'd unlocked 1,000 times. The office she'd protected with everything she had, even when the danger outgrew her job. It remained empty, dusty, silent, a memorial of what it took to stand up for something as simple and as dangerous as honesty. I pressed my hand against the cold glass window and closed my eyes. Before all this, I lived in the illusion that schools were safe worlds, simple worlds, predictable worlds, bureaucratic, sure, frustrating at times but mostly harmless. A place where the biggest scandals were budget cuts or cafeteria food complaints. I never imagined people could weaponize those walls, that corruption could hide behind PTA newsletters, that intimidation could disguise itself in district memos, that a principal, someone whose whole life was dedicated to guiding kids, could be dragged into something monstrous, simply because she refused to sign a lie. I certainly never imagined that I would be the one forced to pull the truth out of its hiding place. One evening after dismissal, I walked to the back of the gym one last time, the place where this whole storm began. Sunlight slanted across the pavement, turning everything gold and warm, so opposite of the cold dread I'd felt the first time I stood here. The ground was clean now, no tire marks, no traces. The camera above the corner had been replaced with a newer one. Normal, too normal, but I guess that's how life absorbs trauma, quietly, without ceremony. I took a slow breath and let the memories of that night wash over me. The abandoned car, the unanswered questions, the moment I realized something sacred had been violated. It all felt distant now, but not gone, never gone. The truth of what happened here would linger inside me like a bruise that never fully heals. As I turned to leave, I noticed the smallest thing, a single yellow sticky note left on the gym door, fluttering lightly in the wind. I stepped closer. It wasn't from a student, not a random note. It was from Vera. Her handwriting was unmistakably neat, measured, and steady. "Thank you for going looking for me when no one else did." V swallowed hard. It hit me then. Sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't confronting danger, it's confronting silence. It's choosing to ask a question when everyone else pretends not to hear it. It's walking toward the truth even when your legs shake beneath you. I folded the note carefully and slipped it into my jacket. That night, I sat on my porch with the porch light off, listening to crickets and distant highway noise. The world was calm, but inside me was a storm settling into stillness. I realized something important. For weeks, I'd been running on adrenaline, fear, instinct. But now in the quiet I had space to feel something deeper. Grief. Not grief for a death, but for innocence lost. Before all this, I believed in systems. In leadership. In structure. In the idea that good people keep institutions upright. But now I understood the truth. Institutions don't protect people. People protect people. And sometimes, the people who protect others are the ones the system tries hardest to silence. The next morning, I found myself standing in front of my class before the bell, staring at the rows of empty desks. Sunlight spilled across the whiteboard. A sticky note from a student hung crookedly on the corner. A doodle of a dragon I'd joked about drawing the week before. My life was the same, and completely different, when the first student walked in. A girl named Layla. She paused at the doorway. "Mr. Carver?" she asked quietly. "Yes, I'm glad you're okay." It was such a simple sentence, but it shook something loose in me, something warm. That moment made me realize why everything was worth it. Not for recognition, not for justice, not even for truth, but for them, the kids, the next generation, who deserved a world led by honest people. Even if honesty was dangerous. By lunchtime, the halls hummed with normal noise again. Teachers carried stacks of papers. Students swapped stories about weekend plans. Lockers slammed. Someone spilled a tray in the cafeteria. Life kept moving. But I understood now that courage wasn't a grand gesture. It was a choice you make again and again. In the small moments. Choosing to speak. Choosing to help. Choosing to stand when something feels wrong. Choosing to look for someone when everyone else convinces themselves. She simply walked away. That was the real reflection. Not the victory. Not the justice. But the quiet understanding that doing the right thing rarely feels heroic in the moment. It feels scary, lonely, dangerous, and necessary. Later that week, Kane visited me again. He handed me a sealed envelope, a copy of the official statement confirming the arrests, the charges, and the protection status for Vera and Harper. "You did good, kid," he said. "I didn't do it for praise." "I know," he said with a nod. "That's why it mattered." After he left, I sat at my kitchen table, envelope in hand, and took a long, quiet breath. This wasn't the story I ever thought I'd live, but it was the one I learned from, and the lesson was simple. Sometimes the truth doesn't shine. Sometimes it hides in the dark. Sometimes it waits for anyone brave enough to open the door. And when you do, you don't just save someone else, you save yourself too.